Hello and welcome to another episode of the Business Spotlight series. My name is Claudia Thompson and I'm here today with Jim Legg, one of the co-founders of Honk Honk. So welcome to the show. And why don't you start and tell us who you are and what it is you do?
Oh, thank you for having me. Yeah, my name's Jim. I'm the operations director for Honk Honk, and I'm one of the co-founders as well. We've set up a used car marketplace to help customers out there sell their car in an affordable and safe way, and we want to become one of the market leaders in doing so.
Fantastic. And you've been going for a while and you clearly have a bit more to go and big plans. But what would you say would you attribute your growth to?
So when we first started, I think, what's really important, certainly something we've learned along the way, is having the right people. That really is so important particularly when you're hiring, but also, and it comes from the top down, as we would always say. So having that same mindset, and also making sure that everyone is aware of the goals that the business is trying to achieve, as well as everyone's individual goals. And having that clear vision, that transparency of what the work that you're doing and what it's going to attribute and achieve. So for us, that growth is really about people all being on side, if you like, and knowing what they're doing and what they're contributing to for the end goal, whatever that may be.
Yeah. And speaking of the end goal, or hopefully not the end goal, but where do you see yourself in 5 years? And do you have any words of wisdom for other business owners who are looking to grow?
Yeah, well, I suppose a lot can happen in 5 years, as we've probably seen over the last 5 years. So, yeah, for us, where do we see ourselves? Well, we would want to have ultimately the best platform out there, or website that achieves the best success. So that would be obviously, selling the most amount of cars or being a big competitor to one of the market leaders. Our vision and business plan sets that out. Don't be afraid to dream big. It might sound a bit cliche, but you've got to. If you think small, then I don't think you'll get very far very quickly. So we have big visions, big plans, but we've set them all into individual chunks. So we have our short and sort of long-term goals, if you like. And I think probably my advice would be to be open-minded. Business changes, it evolves. You have to look at new ways to sort of innovate, if you like. And yeah, what you first set out, for example, we are sort of is very technology led. So, we're trying to sell people's cars, but we're collecting an awful lot of data. So it might be that we can go in a different avenue or come up with a different partnership. So yeah, don't be afraid to be open to change, have an open mindset, but certainly have clear sort of short and long-term goals would be my sort of top advice, really.
Perfect. And what have been your biggest learning as an employer since you started in business?
Yeah, I think you learn a lot, particularly effectively you're self-employed to a degree, so you've got to set yourself some targets, be well disciplined, and in that, what we've learned is that, coming back to my earlier point, really is that you have to be open to change, and ultimately, uh, don't beat yourself up if things don't go how you thought they might. People come out with an idea and a vision, but it doesn't always work out like that, and you will hit tough times. Anyone that tells you, in my opinion, that it's all rosy is probably yeah, not doing it quite right, or because I think, again, you almost got to make mistakes to realize where you've gone wrong and how you can improve. So yeah, our biggest learnings is probably been, you don't always necessarily need what you think you do, whether that be people or a big social media plan, and you have to have this and this. Like, ultimately you have to have a presence, but perhaps you don't need to spend thousands and pounds in marketing that you can't necessarily monitor. So do things in small chunks. That, I think that's something we learned quite quickly, is that perhaps you don't need a person for this and a person for that. Actually, can you do it yourself? And can you do it in small and in stages? So yeah, certainly our biggest learning, I think, is you know be careful and think about what you actually need, and probably comes down to how you spend your money as well, because certainly if you've got investment like we're very fortunate to have done, that money can go quickly if it's not spent wisely.
Yeah. And were there any particular learnings that you had to learn when it came to taking on your first member of staff, or then growing to the team even bigger?
Yeah, it's so important. I think I look back on how hiring staff, and having people is really hard to find the right people. And I think everybody will say that. I've also been in recruitment, so I know how hard that is. And so having people that are on board and having that same sort of mindset is certainly tricky to find. And also people talk a good game in interviews. So you have to learn, and also adapt as well. Not everyone is the same as you. Everybody has different goals. So what might be my goal is different to someone else's, but can we achieve that on the way in their own right? And ultimately it is a challenge, and how you manage the people. So again, probably coming back to the earlier point where we said about having that clear vision, clear goals, and getting people with the right mindset as you, but feeding that down and being clear and transparent. I think as well, it's really important that people, whether you're a director or a founder, just be honest and transparent and feed it down. Feedback is so important. So yeah, certainly that's a big thing for us.
Yeah, and something that a lot of business owners who I talk to struggle with is the financial management. Do you have any advice that you could give, especially new business owners that are, new to the whole field of cash flow and manage your budget and so on? Any tips there?
Yeah, I mean, particularly if you're a business owner, I think a lot of people set out in business and they think that they're going to work the hours that they want to do, and earn lots of money. And yeah, obviously that's great, and it can be done hopefully in the right way. But ultimately, I think it's really important to be. We certainly have the ethos of running as lean as we can be. Again, depending on obviously how much cash flow you have, don't spend unnecessarily. Make sure you can measure everything that you're spending. So, whether that's digital advertising, what return are you getting? How effective is it? And you've got to be proactive as well as reactive. So I think you're just being on top of everything is so important. And yeah, but being lean for us is a key, but not pushing ourselves to, if we need that extra person, then we'll get them. But just be wise with your spending, and yeah, just manage your money wisely. Really, I suppose it seems so simple, but it's so important. Monitor everything daily, weekly, monthly, performance against target. Is it working? If it's not, drop it. Move. What other areas can you achieve, or that's working well for you? So.
Yeah. So keeping an eye on your finances, monitor daily, monthly, make sure you know what's happening and stay as lean as possible.
Absolutely.
Perfect. And how do you personally balance your personal life with the demands of running a business?
Yeah, it's hard. Well, it can be hard, because ultimately you feel like you want to be doing everything you can. So it's really important for me personally that I try and achieve what needs to be done in a certain time, and how am I going to do that? But I think as well, you do have to have a bit of a balance, in terms of switching off. If you're working, I mean, you'll hear lots of people, in my opinion, they'll say that they work 18, 20 hours a day. And if they do and they can, good for them. But is it realistic? Can most people do that? Probably not. So having that time to switch off. So, if you're working hour day, if you feel that you can manage 10-hour days, 12-hour days, 14-hour days, break it down individually. I mean, that's what I do. I make sure that I have a plan every single day, and for the week, what's the most important things, and how am I going to achieve them? So what's most important gets done first. What's important but can be put back, then I'll manage it and schedule it. So having a plan is really important to managing your your work-life balance, but also schedule in some time, whether that be during the week or at the end of the month. You're going to say, I'm going to switch off if possible, for a day, and just take a day out and just do things that work for you, whether that's going to the gym, long walks. You've got to switch off to a degree. So yeah, absolutely, having that right balance, but what works for you. But I would say is, in the beginning, you've got to be prepared to put the shift in. If you're thinking it's going to be easy, as I said, and just do a few hours and it's all going to come rolling in, then yeah, that is probably not the right time for you.
Yeah. So have a plan and schedule me time in the diary to make sure you don't find excuses to push me time away again.
Yeah, absolutely. And the reality is, people have partners, families, friends. Don't sacrifice
Puppies.
that to a degree, because that partner that's there for you at the beginning and hopes to help you all the way through, to obviously create a successful business. Don't neglect them as well, because you're going to need them. They're probably, you probably aren't aware of it, but you're telling them all the issues and the struggles, but all the positivities, and they're there to lean on. So yeah, don't sacrifice that either.
And what do you think are some common misconceptions that people have about running a business, and how do you address them?
Yeah, probably what I just sort of touched on really is that I think people like the idea of having their own business and being their own boss. And you've almost got to ask yourself, why do you want to be your own boss, or why do you want to run your own business? Is it just for money? Obviously, if you have your own business and it's successful, then great. Chances are you're probably going to earn more money. But I don't think it can just be financial. I think you've got to try and be really passionate about your business or what you're doing. If you're not passionate about it, then you'll burn out, or you'll lose attention, and it probably won't work. So yeah, for me, misconceptions is, you're going to work your own hours and you're not going to be responsible to anyone. But the reality is that when things are going tough or need addressing, there's no one there to tell you that, Jim, you're doing this and that, and you could be doing this and that. You have to be disciplined. You're going to have to be responsible for your own actions. And yeah, it's not all rosy, but if you put the hard work in, and set those goals and get the right people around you, then definitely be going to be on the right path. So yeah, that's probably a few misconceptions there, perhaps.
Fantastic. So it's not as easy as people think, but it's still well worth it if you get the right people in place, get help when you need it.
Yeah, absolutely. I think don't be afraid to collaborate and maybe partner with other people as well. I think sometimes people feel that they should, their business is a secret, and oh, I don't want to tell other people about this, and this, because, that's mine. The more people that you can work with, the better, because you create relationships, you build networks. And I certainly look over the last 4 or 5 years of talking to people, networking with people, connecting with people, and it pays dividends. It does return. So yeah, don't be afraid to ask for help, or get a mentor, or perhaps someone that you can just lean on, that you might have used to work with, or an old boss. So I think that's always something to think about.
Cool. And on the note of connecting, how
Mm.
can people find out more about you, or get in touch with you, or find out more about Honk Honk?
Well, I'm very heavily into LinkedIn personally. I think it's a great platform for business relationships. But ultimately, yeah, if you want to get in touch with me, or see what Honk Honk's all about, then obviously, yeah, visit our website, which is honkhonk.co.uk, or ultimately visit my LinkedIn, and you'll see a little bit about my, obviously, employment history, what I've been doing. And I certainly share a lot of things that are of interest to me and other people. And just, yeah, certainly connect with as many people as you can in your industry, or certainly, or that you might be able to help, or might be able to help you in the long term or short term.
Fantastic. That wraps up our time today. Thank you so much for being here and sharing your nuggets of wisdom. And yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you for having me, and wish you all the best.
Yeah, bye.
Bye bye.